then we came in for our ultrasound super early again at 5 weeks, and we saw 2 sacs, and we found out it was twins, and one didn't have a yolk sac yet, so we weren't 100% sure, so we were monitoring that one, but it looked pretty good. It was promising for twins, so we came back and had another ultrasound a week later, and it was confirmed that it was twins, and I just remember looking at my husband like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And my husband was so good. He just looked at me, he was like, babe, we've got this. It's gonna be okay, we've got this. And I'm like, no we don't, like you have no clue what we're in for. Pregnancy was good up until about 22 weeks. That was my first time in the hospital. I started having contractions. Yeah, I was feeling kind of weird at the office one day, and so I talked to Dr. Clay, and we had an ultrasound, and she put me on the monitor, and we realized I was having contractions. So they sent me to the hospital, and I had to go see my high-risk specialist there, and they were like, it's probably just dehydration, you know, we'll get some fluids in you, and you'll be good. So got some fluids, and they didn't completely stop, but they thought once I got home that it would stop. So they sent me home. Well, the next day I was having them, and they were regular, every 10 minutes. So I went back to the hospital, and that one was a little bit of a longer stay. I had to get 3 injections of terbutaline, and I had to get Bricardia, and they finally stopped. I remember Dr. Gandhi telling me she was going to transfer me, and I don't know if it was just the medication or just the fact that I was just kind of in denial. I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to be able to go in my husband's truck, right? Like, he's going to be able to drive me. And she was like, no, you're going by ambulance. Because I'm hooked up to these machines, IV, catheter, all of that. And I was just like, no, I'm not getting in the ambulance. And she's like, yeah, you are. And she made them turn on the sirens and everything. I couldn't do anything. I mean, I literally couldn't even feed myself. Someone had to get me my food. So that was really hard, but having family around was so wonderful. Dr. Gandhi talked with me every single day to make sure I wasn't going crazy. So we made it through that. And then, I know this might sound weird, but we have a bulldog, and he sat by my side every second of every day. So I think that really helped me too. I made sure to put his bed right next to me, so I felt like I had something or somebody. So then we went to the high-risk specialist at 2:30, and I told my husband that I was having contractions in the waiting room, which was weird because I never felt my contractions before. So I was feeling them. Dr. Gandhi showed me them right away when she took them out, and I heard them cry, which I had been anticipating that moment for so long, and I was so scared. So to hear them cry, I was like, okay, I can breathe. Like, they're okay. So then I had 2 separate NICU teams that were there with me. So they didn't tell me anything until they did their full evaluation and made sure that they are okay, which for a new mom, I'm terrified, and I keep asking, are they okay, are they okay, are they okay? And then they finally came around and told me that my first baby, Briar, he had to be on a CPAP because his lungs weren't fully developed, so it was helping him breathe. So when I first saw him, he had this tube stuck up his nose and around his face, and it just looked horrible. And you couldn't really see him, and so that was so heartbreaking to see him that way. And I could only see him for a second because they took him right upstairs. And then my second baby, Wyatt, he was fine. He didn't have any, and he was my smaller baby. He didn't have any problems. So I got to see him for a little bit. They laid him on my chest, and in that moment, everything just stopped for me. That normally after a C-section you can't get up for 12 hours. Well, I hadn't seen my babies and they weren't with me. So I was like, that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna get up so you can get whoever you need to, because I'm getting up. So I got up about 4 hours after, and I went to the NICU and was able to see my boys for a little bit. And prepare myself for it, but nothing can prepare you to leave the hospital without your children. I mean, there's just nothing in the world that can prepare you for that. So went home, and luckily we only live 5 minutes from the hospital. So we were there every single day, all day long. We got there in the morning. The only time we left was for lunch, and then we'd go right back because they had feeding tubes for the first week and a half, so we wanted to hold them while they were being fed so they would associate food with mommy and daddy. And then after that, we were working on bottles, so we wanted to be there to feed them, and also we just wanted to be there all day long. So we were, and the NICU team was so wonderful. The boys had their own room, so it was really nice. We could kind of spread out and lounge. But it was a blessing that we were in Cherokee, because I couldn't imagine being in Atlanta and having to drive that every day, and because it's exhausting. It is so emotionally hard, and you cannot prepare yourself. But I would get up. I had to pump every single night. So I would get up in the middle of the night and I would go pump in their nursery, which was almost torture, pumping in an empty nursery. But I had this song that I played by Darius Rucker, and it's called "It Won't Be Like This for Long." And I played it over and over and over again and just told myself, it won't be like this for long. The boys will be home one day. And I would just picture what their lives were going to be like, us being on the baseball field or the football field or whatever they wanted to do. And I just dreamt about that.